Hi, I'm Eddie Hurt, and I'm here today with my slacker sister and business partner, Michelle Blessing.
And together we are the Blessing Her team at ERA Shields. So Eddie, you look like you're slacking with your t-shirt or jammies on there, right?
Got my PJs working from home today.
It's good, at least you're working. So I think today we wanted to talk a little bit about offers. People just think you're going to throw that offer in and, it's going to be accepted or there's nothing you can do. But we wanted to talk today a little bit about what makes a strong offer from the eyes of a seller.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of different strategies. And this is, again, why you'd want to enlist the assistance of an experienced real estate agent so they can help you through these things. Because in this market, even as a seller, you could leave a lot of money on the table. You could also expose yourself to a lot of extra time on the market. You also need to understand that there's a lot of buyers that have buyer's remorse right now in this market and are terminating. We're seeing record highs of terminations. According to our title company, almost 30% of all contracts are terminating right now. So it's important to understand all this.
Yeah, and the reason that's important to know, and again, as a seller, why it's important to try to pick the offer that feels like most likely to close, is because once you've been off the market and come back on, just people automatically assume that something is wrong with the house. And not only that, but a lot of people have gone away, found other properties. So now maybe you had 15 offers and then you start going back and now you only have one or two people that are still in the game. So it is important to help sellers determine what the good offers are. And there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah. So obviously the first one is price. You can try and offer more than everybody else. But the other terms are also typically important as well. So just because you offer the most may not necessarily mean you're going to win the offer.
Why is that, Eddie?
Why is that? Well, first would be financing terms. So cash versus financing. So if someone who's putting down 20% down and someone's putting cash, or maybe a buyer who's doing a low and even lower down payment type product, like a 3.5% conventional loan, the big differences are appraisal. So a cash one doesn't have to go through appraisal. So if someone is bidding prices up and out of the market price and likely won't appraise, well, that's a concern if you're getting a loan. But also, I would say there's ways around that as well. If you are a conventional buyer or VA buyer, Michelle will talk a little bit about those opportunities. But typically, highest price is very, very attractive to most sellers.
Yeah, you hear all the time, like, oh, how can I make my offer good? At the end of the day, people want a good price. And, you can, sometimes we'll see offers where they'll come in so above list price and it's a loan. And, you just know that's not going to work because when it doesn't appraise, the lender is going to come back and something's going to need to happen. The seller needs to come down or the buyer needs to come up. So where you can make an offer with a loan more attractive is to have an appraisal gap incentive, meaning that if it appraises for, let's say, 20,000 under, that you would come up with that money, or the not us, but the buyer would come up with that money to cover that deficit. So it becomes a little more attractive and a little bit more like a cash offer.
Yeah. So an example that would be make an offer of $300,000, and the buyer also says, I will cover up to $15,000 in a low appraisal, meaning if the appraisal came in at 285, then the buyer would have to bring an extra $15,000 to keep their lender happy and to move forward with the closing.
Yeah, and appraisals can be tough right now just because in a market where, things are appreciating so quickly, appraisers look at what's happened in the past. And so it's, you just never know, are we going to get an appraiser that really takes into consideration the craziness and the appreciation in our market, or are they going to simply go by comps? And if they simply go by comps, appraisal can likely be an issue.
Yeah. I think another big term, and all the terms, is any of the dates and deadlines. The faster you can get past those, the better for the seller, and also probably better for the buyer, I think, in a lot of ways as well. But the big scary one out there always for the buyer or for the seller, I'm sorry, is the loan termination deadline, which just simply says if there's something about the loan they don't like, the buyer can terminate. So as a buyer, you want to try and minimize that or make that deadline as early as possible to make that seller feel more comfortable.
Yeah. And I think one of the last things you can do, and we see this actually a lot, is kind of coming up with a semi as is clause, meaning that, saying that you won't nickel and dime, you won't ask for cosmetic issues, just anything for health and safety or structure kinds of things. And so we see that a lot, but those are some of the ways to make an offer better.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for tuning in this time. And if you need help with getting your house sold or finding a house to purchase, be sure to look us up, get in touch with Michelle or I.